so much.
Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God, and welcome anybody who's new and old timers. Thank you for my life. This is our coming to the end, step 12, but there's more and there's always more. So we never end. There's never really an ending. We begin to live this thing. I've been so excited all week with each and every one of you. And this week, I'm very excited to introduce one of my other favorite people, my other favorite ladies. It's funny. The last couple of days, we kept getting together on the phone to talk about this meeting. And we talked about everything else for 2 hours other than this meeting. And luckily, just a few minutes ago, she was like, can we talk about the format before we have to start the meeting? So that's what happens to Olis and I. We end up talking. Here is a woman that I respect and I admire. I've had the privilege to meet her through Zoom, and Bronx meeting nonetheless, because I'm a New Yorker, so that was sweet. All the way in California, meet another New Yorker on Zoom. I love the way she walks like she talks. She's transparent. She lives this thing one day at a time, has a fantastic relationship with God. I learned so much from her. And so I am so excited to share with you today on step 12. Always introduce yourself, your sobriety date, and let's rock and roll.
Hi, family. My name is Olis, and I'm a grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I just really want to begin by humbly thanking Theresa for including me in this, Ali for reaching out, and for all my friends that are doing service that make this possible, because I'm just another bozo on the bus. And anybody that knows me knows I never come prepared. I never know what I'm going to say. I trust that God will make me useful, because that's my only desire, is to be useful. So presumably somebody will time me. I'll time myself, but cut me off. When Ali called me, it was early on in the process, and he said, what step do you want? And I chose 12, because I feel like so many people come into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and they never really get the full message. I think that there are different proofs of alcohol, obviously, and there are different proofs of recovery, right? You can go to AA Light, not to offend anybody, or you can just get it straight, no chaser. I was a straight no chaser girl. And you can come in, and I've been guilty of this, and do 1, yes, I'm powerless, and then do 12, yes, let me carry the message. I really can only carry the mess if I do that. I can't really carry the message until I've done all 12 steps. And so, I think of the 12 step as having 3 parts. The first part is having had a spiritual awakening. Nope. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result. I got to do the work, right? I got to do the work. And, the second appendices in the big book tells us it's a personality change sufficient, right? And the 12 by 12 puts a little bit more meat on the bone, but I can't stay the person that I was drinking and expect a different result in my life. We were joking before the meeting started. I was like, oh, Odie, you have a new haircut. And she was like, yeah, and it didn't change how I felt, right? Because it's an inside job. It's an inside job. Nothing that I do outside, a new car, a new house, a new relationship, a new outfit, none of that is going to rocket me to the 4th dimension. None of it. And so I have to do all 12 steps. That's how I get a spiritual. Actually, the steps are designed to lead you to a spiritual awakening. That's what they're designed to do. And, Theresa and I were talking about this earlier. Like, there's not a church or religious order that can really promise you that in that way. But our process is about stripping us down, helping us see the truth about who we really are. And we don't want to look because we think there's a boogeyman under the bed. There's no boogeyman. That's an old blanket and a doll head and an old shoe. The devil is a lie. Fear is a lie from the pit of hell, and it keeps people two-stepping, right? Step 1, step 12. Step 1, I don't want what you got. I'm sorry, I don't want what you got. And I'm recovered, but I'm not sane. So let me get that out of the way, right? I'm not delivered to full sanity in every minute about everything, right? I just can see where I'm crazy. The second part of the 12th step is carry the message. And that's the one we want to talk about, right? Or we want to make coffee. We want to be the birthday person. We want to give out chips. Woo! We want to give somebody a ride to a meeting. Yeah, that's lovely. And actually, when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I thought that the real deal was going through the steps, which, I dragged my feet on. But after I'd been here for a while, I realized that the real work was taking somebody else through the steps. That's the real work. To see the light bulb go on. And let's be clear about, right? My love, Ralph White talks about, like, you need a crew, a posse, a set of friends so that you can call them and complain about your sponsor. All the women I'm working with is calling each other and complaining about me, all of them. Why I got to do a nightly inventory? We not even on that step yet. What? You want what I got. I don't want what you got. Come on. Direction, right? Because that's what we come in. We're defiant. We know. No, we don't. That's how we burn our lives to the ground thinking we knew. And so the second step about carrying the message, you've got to have a message to carry. You've got to have a message to carry. And then on the third part of the 12th step, which is my favorite part where I'm going to spend my time, is practicing these principles in all of my affairs. Ooh, that's my favorite part. That's my favorite part. And I only get to do that if I've done the first one. If I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of practicing, right? If I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, then I can practice. And that doesn't happen in these Hollywood squares. That doesn't happen in meetings. Practicing the principles in all of my affairs happens out in the world. It's interesting. My home group is the Bronx Big Book. We meet every night at 9 p.m. We're an intensive line-by-line study of the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we read from the dust cover through Dr. Bob's Nightmare and whip around and do it again and again and again and again. And every night there's a new speaker. Woo! Not just any speaker, a speaker that knows the book, that loves the book, that actually can bring the book to life. Because if you've been here a couple decades and you're still talking about what happened when you got drunk a couple decades ago, you're not really understanding the words on the page. It's how is this experience alive and well in my life? Because I have to keep growing. Grow or die, right? I really believe grow or die. And so this third part, right? This in all of my affairs is how am I living when you're not watching me? How am I living at the supermarket? How am I living with my mother who gets on my last final nerve, right? How am I living? How am I living? You go to the 12 and 12 and it talks about 4 pages. It talks about like relationships and love and sex, right? Where, by the way, I kind of lightweight suck in that area of my life, but I called Theresa. This is how Theresa and I got into a relationship. I called Theresa and we were getting to know each other. And I said, well, I've done really well in all these areas of my life and like over here in relationships. And she's like, tell me about your last relationship. And I tell her the story and I'm like, yeah, I'm not any good at it. And Theresa was like, well, I have a different interpretation. I was like, really? What is that? And she said that when you're in a relationship and you write pro and con, on the con side, if it says it affects your serenity, your sanity, your sobriety, your relationship with God, it don't matter what the pros are. You got to go. And what I did was I left. I was head over heels in love, high school in love, like, woo! And I left because it wasn't healthy. So practicing the principles in all of my affairs doesn't mean I get it perfect. It doesn't mean that I have like the Ozzie and Harriet life. It doesn't mean that it's picture, but it doesn't mean that. It means that I'm striving, that I'm growing, that I'm reaching, that I'm reflecting, that I'm actually thinking about every experience I have and I'm thinking, can I do better? What did I do that caused harm? How was I selfish? How was I self-seeking? How was I self-pitying? Where was I at fault? No matter what happened, I have to look at me. And for me, that's a core part of practicing, right? The thing I love about the 12 step is in some ways, it's all the steps, right? And what does the 10th step teach me? The spiritual axiom. You ready for the new people? Ready? It's you. The problem's always you. 100% of the time, it's you. Just get to that and then move on. All of the time that we squander that could be useful blaming other people, telling the story about how I've been wronged, I'm a victim. It's not true. It's not true. I've absolutely stepped on the toes of my fellows. Absolutely. And they've retaliated. Absolutely. And I'm like, without provocation, no. You know, there are a couple of things that I think is important to say about how this looks in my life. I'm going to put out two things. One is that victims don't recover. As long as the thing that's happening to me is someone else's fault, I can't fix it. I learned that in Al-Anon when I got here. As long as the thing that's happening to me is someone else's fault, I don't have any power. The power comes from seeing my harm, not my part, my harm, my fault, what I did. Because as long as I'm a victim of someone else, it's never going to get better for me. And you know what I want it to be? Better. I want to have a deeper, more meaningful relationship with the God of my understanding. I want to live in joy and happiness no matter what happens outside of me. And to me, that's the fourth dimension, that no matter what happens, I'm good. I mean, you know, I got to shake it off, but I'm good. The other thing I want to say is that when I look back on my life, right? Live forward, understood backwards. Live forward, understood backwards, right? I don't know in the moment, but I know if I'm practicing the principles, I'm always in inventory. I'm always in self-reflection. I'm always. I can see it looking back. And when I look back on my life, I realize that everything that I thought happened to me actually happened for me. And when you read the 12 by 12, that's what it says. Everything that happened to me actually happened for me. So I'm going to give you an example so you know that I'm telling the truth about how I live this. Imperfectly, but I live this. I'm born and raised in New York. I am the third of four girls. I'm sure that each of us was the last child because we're 5 years apart. And that creates a little bit of an odd dynamic, right? Because you don't really have like a sibling, like it's just a stretch. And my mother couldn't really care for us. And so I was left a series of places and bad things happened to me because bad things happen to little girls that are unattended. And I remember the first time I heard Theresa share in full her like whole story. I was like, oh my God, that's my story, right? My mother would get arrested today for the stuff that she did. It's just a train wreck. And at 13, I have a boyfriend who's 24 years old. And that 24-year-old boyfriend is an alcoholic, right? Of course. And I missed the entire 8th grade because that's what a 13-year-old is. They're an 8th grader. So I'm in 8th grade and my boyfriend's 24. Wrap your whole mind around that. And he gives me a sexually transmitted disease that sterilizes me. And you know, you could feel real sorry for me about that, but you ought not. Because what I understand now is God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. I drank for another 13 years after that. And my self-esteem was so low that every man that said hello to me and smiled, I'd have had a baby for him. My desire for love and belonging was so profound. I was abandoned at birth. It was profound. And what God did was God removed my reproductive rights because I couldn't manage them. And I now know that. I now know that. I don't feel at all bad about that. That's my journey. That's my path. Everything that I thought happened to me, the molestation, the abandonment, the broken heart, all of it has made me resilient and surrender to God. And as a result of that, here's how I live my life today. People say that I shouldn't say this when I'm being recorded, but I'm going to say it, okay? My perfect number of sponsees is 0. Yeah, because I want to lay on the couch and watch Netflix and eat bonbons. I want to go on a trip, right? But that's not the journey that God has for me. And everything that I did that I wanted to do, it burnt my life to the ground. So what I've learned is what I want doesn't matter. I have to do what God wants. Surrender, surrender. That's what the 12th step is for me. Practicing the principles, not just carrying the message, but practicing the principles. Do I answer the phone when I don't want to? When a friend is sick, do I show up? I just got home on the 5th, and I spent 2.5 weeks on the road serving other people. A guy that worked for me that was my security lead, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, devastating. 2 years ago, he could walk. Today, he's in a chair with a towel on him, drooling. And showing up, I don't have a skin in the game. I don't have any money to get for, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Call me. My number's right there. I don't want anything but to be helpful. That's all I want to be. Because when I really look at my life, it's been charmed. It's full of abundance and happiness and joy. I don't have everything I want, but what I want sometimes not for me. And when I can just serve other people. You have a need. I talked to my sponsee today. I think she's on here. And I was like, girl, you got your new house. I'm going to come help you clean up. She was like, oh, I wouldn't dream of that. Yeah, that's service. It doesn't matter. Where can I be useful? Where can I be kind? Where can I be tolerant? When can I make friends with the person that feels lonely? What am I doing out in the world to help God's children? Because God doesn't need me. God's children need me, but God doesn't need me. So what can I do to surrender my free time, to surrender my mental capacity, to surrender my physical capacity to be of service? For me, yes, I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps. Yes, I carry the message. I didn't say this. I'm the booker for the Bronx Big Book. I find a new speaker every night. Whew, that'll keep you busy. And I sponsor 15 women. They're 15 now. 16, she's on a marijuana maintenance program. I'm going to get her back. I'm going to get her back. I'm going to get her back. It doesn't matter. Everybody God sends me, I take them. I sure don't want to, but it's not about what I want. And then this third part is the part I love. It's my daily practice. How do I get up and go out in the world? How do I talk to the doorman? How do I talk to the people in the supermarket? You know, I greet everybody. Hi, beautiful. Hi, handsome. What can I do if we're just passing each other to instill in your life some sunshine? I'm going to say this because I'm pretty sure my time is up. On Mother's Day, I worked with young people 13 to 24, and I work with thousands of them, thousands, in a deep and meaningful way. And Mother's Day came this May, and nobody said Happy Mother's Day. Not one person. And then I started feeling a way, because the devil is real. I started feeling a way about, my reproduction, and then I didn't have all of that, right? And then I decided what I was going to do is be the blessing that I wanted to receive. That's practicing the principles in all of my affairs. I just sat there. And if you was in my phone, I was like, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day. Because I can be the blessing that I want to receive. It's not about me. And if I don't have something I want, somebody else wants it too. And how can I give it to them? So it's kindness, it's tolerance, it's patience, it's self-sacrificing, all of those things. It's all of those things. That is practicing the principle. If all you're going to do is get sober and get the gift of sobriety and go to a meeting and get up at the podium and sound good, and you're not doing any of the rest of the work to be of service to God's children, I would say that you're a spiritual thief. I'm sorry. That's what I would say. That is this giving. We have to give what's been given to us. I got here, nobody asked for anything. They just gave. And so now I want to give back. And I hope to spend the rest of my life doing that. So I don't know where I am on time, but I'm going to stop. Theresa, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope that, that for people who are new or not so new, that don't have an experience fully with the 12th step, that something that I've said made sense.
That was good. I don't know. You probably, okay. I'm stuck on a few words. Every time I be listening, I'm like, that was good. Wow. Okay. Yeah, my head going. I'm thinking and thinking. Have me thinking about a lot of stuff. Okay. Processing. You said so much. Okay. We were talking before the meeting, right? And I was saying it's interesting. A lot of times when we get to step 12, again, my name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. When we get to step 12, we tend to see it only as sponsoring people and being of service. The chapter itself in working with others really lays out how we do 12-step calls. A lot of that chapter in the big book gives us direction and guidance on how to be of service and work with others because it's fairly new. And it prepares us to be willing to give up a whole lot of time. Like being of service is not convenient. It's not when I have extra free time. It describes in there where I'm going to have some sleepless nights. What are you talking about? A burned mattress or something like somebody burnt up his mattress. A burnt mattress. So I need to get ready to be able to be inconvenienced. But in order for me to be inconvenienced, I had to have had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps and then practicing these principles in all my affairs. So it's almost like a sandwich where they carry the message. It's like a sandwich to me, right? That's the meat and potatoes in the middle. And the other two are the bookends or the bread part of the sandwich, because without these other two areas, it's very difficult for me to carry a message. Just like you were saying, what am I talking about? What am I sharing about? All I'm sharing is disease. I remember Vernon, I went to 9604, and Vernon used to always say, in your first year, we couldn't share. And if you raise your hand, he'd be like, what you got to talk about? All you know is what it was like, what it was like, what it was like, what it was like. I always remember, I still hear that in my head. So really all I have to share is disease, because I'm just telling you my distorted perception, my ideas, my victimization, my defects of character, my ego. And so really where they position caring, and they use the term the message, not any message, not my message. I always get nervous when people say, my big book. I'm like, what big book you got? You know what I'm saying? You got a big, or my recovery. I'm like, you got a different recovery than my recovery? I be getting nervous. What recovery you doing? So it says the message. So it's not even my message. It is the message of recovery. And the message is what they told us in the very beginning of the big book, which is this is precisely how we have recovered. And that what we hope is that you don't need to change it, alter it, or do anything to it. So that's the message I'm carrying, and comes in the form of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. It comes in the form of a message of depth and weight. The doctor talked about it. The only thing that captures the attention to any other alcoholic is a message of depth and weight, not wisdom, not that I can break down the big book, not that I can tell you what to do. The message of depth and weight is identification, that I can tell you this is what I did. They introduce it to me again in the preface. Please read one of the stories and ask yourself questions like, that happened to me. I felt that way too. Perhaps this program can work for me. So what is the message that I'm carrying in 12? That what happened to me, how I felt, and that the program worked for me. Even when I start talking to somebody who's new in recovery, I don't tell them how to do the program. The way it lays it out is I'm supposed to talk to you about what is your relationship with alcohol and what's mine. And then and only then when the person says they're interested on how to get into the solution, that I loan them this book. Now I have yet to loan the book. I have yet to do that. I don't know if anybody's loaned the book. I ain't loaned nobody my book. I will give you a new big book. I don't know how many people has followed that part of the book. I ain't loaning nobody nothing. Got too many things that I hold on to. But really, in order for me to be able to help others, my house needs to be in order. It's interesting how Bill, when he was in the Mayflower, he said, if I don't talk to another drunk, I'm going to get drunk. He didn't say if I don't get another drunk sober. So really, the reward is what I gain. If I had the spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, it tells me that the only thing that ensures permanent sobriety is work with another alcoholic. If sex is troublesome, work with another alcoholic. That's my guarantee. But what's interesting about that guarantee is that it forces me to practice the principles in all my affairs. Check out how they broke this down. Because this is what happens when I'm talking to you or a newcomer or going through the big book with somebody. Believe it or not, I don't know whether that person is getting anything. I know I am. I remember I had a sobriety sister said to me, you sponsor too many people. And she had added up, at the time, it was 35, 40 people, nothing like Clancy. I don't think anybody's ever sponsored like Clancy. It was like 35, 40 people. And she said, you sponsor too many people, I think. So I went to my sponsor, and I was like, Lovey, do you think I sponsor too many people? TC said I sponsor a lot of people. Do I sponsor a lot of people? And I'll never forget, she was eating French fries. We was at a bowling alley after a meeting. She didn't even look at me. We were eating French fries. I was sitting right here, and she just went, you only sponsor one. And she kept eating. Now, I don't know. I'm a little different, maybe like some people. And I'm saying this to be, I don't know what the word is, critical, cynical. You know, I do work with others that have a whole lot to ask and a whole lot to say. But the kind of sponsee I am is I ask my sponsor a question, and whether it makes sense or not, I just go with it. You know what I'm saying? I figure like in hindsight, I'll figure it out. So what I did know was that I didn't hear her say, yes, get rid of some. Now, I don't know what she meant by you only sponsor one. And because I'm the sponsee that's not going to ask her, like, what do you mean by that? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't know. All I know is I didn't hear her say, yes, get rid of some. So it was like a year later. Okay, I still didn't get it. It was like a year later. One of her other sponsees was talking to her, and she kept interrupting her, and it irritated the hell out of me. And no, I didn't do a spot check. I told her to stop interrupting your sponsor. Listen, stop talking. And then I gave her that example. You know, she told me something a year ago, and I still don't know what she's talking about. And then Lovey was like, you still don't know what that means? I was like, no, Lovey. I figured maybe 20 years from now, it'll come to me. She was like, you only sponsor one. You're only sponsoring yourself. We're not anybody's accountant, family, marriage counselor, therapist. The reason why I have insurance and working with others is that really I get to take a look at me. When I'm talking to you, I need to pay attention to what I'm saying to you. I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody, but you're working with others and it seems that everybody that week are talking about the same thing. I've had people call me and they're all talking about an inventory. You know what that tells me? When did you do an inventory last, Theresa? You know what I'm saying? That's coming up a lot. In order to walk like I talk, there is nothing that I can tell others that I'm not doing myself. So every time somebody calls me to be of service, it's an invitation for me to clean house and to do some more work. The hardest sponsees that I have, I need to pay attention to why you disturb me so much. Why does your arrogance disturb me? Why is it you asking 50 million questions disturb me? What's going on with me? Is it the disease of alcoholism that bothers me? Because when we're working with newcomers, I'm confronted with the disease of alcoholism. It's in my face. The disease that's the perception is distorted, not armed with facts about themselves. defects of character and self-will run riot. The manifestation of all of it, untreated alcoholism, is sitting directly in front of me. What am I doing with it? I'm powerless over it. And it's a reminder of that. That's what happens when I'm working with others. It's a reminder. That's alcoholism. And you know who got it? Me. Thank you. There's a dynamic between working with others that's different than any other area of my life of working with others. There's no contract. There's no obligation. Most people think I'm really hard. I'm not hard on people I work with. I'm hard on myself. You can do whatever you want. Just like the old timers told me, I don't know what you're going to do. This is what we have done. My only frustration sometimes working with others, because it's just like the big book says, we ask that you do not try to alter our own experience. They speak in terms of this is what we have done. This is what I experienced. Anytime I get into sometimes Fonzie is going to call me or somebody calls me and you want to debate with me my experience, that's my experience. You do whatever you want. You call me, you ask me, and I'm telling you what I experienced. You do whatever you want. But what you can't do is debate with me my experience and how I understand this program to work. I live this thing one day at a time. How do we practice these principles in all our affairs? What are the principles we're talking about? They're talking about the 12 steps. There are principles within the 12 steps. We're talking about, hey, they say love and tolerance is our code. How am I supposed to do that if I don't pause when agitated? You know what I'm saying? Like, love and tolerance is our code. It doesn't mean I co-sign anybody's bullshit, but what it does mean is how can I say it in a way that it can be heard? I need to pray and ask God to remove from me my self-righteousness, my judgment, my selfishness, my self-centered, my self-seeking. Because you see, when you called me, I was watching Netflix. I always joke around. I have people call me and you want to tell me the drama. And I'm like, if I need to pick a movie to watch, let me decide what genre. You don't decide what genre I'm watching right now. And I was in the middle of watching a good romance flick, right? Or I was watching a good crime movie and now I'm in a romance. You know what I'm saying? I tell people, you misunderstand. I think you thought you were calling the Lifetime channel, but this is the Recovery channel. And I may be the Discovery channel, but what I'm not is the Lifetime channel, right? And so why am I hard? Not on them, but on me, because that's not conducive to my recovery to get into your drama. Because I have a disease called alcoholism, and it loves that stuff. I have a disease that's like a ninja, and it will find every way possible to distract me from my spiritual maintenance. So I am responsible when I'm working with others that I maintain my recovery for my sanity and my sobriety. Working with others doesn't mean that I'm the crisis hotline. I've experienced that too. Some people are under the impression that working with others, when they get a sponsor, that they can call them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever they get an itch up their butt, or whenever they have a moment to pretty much say, you're my 24-hour therapist. And I'm sharing this because that's some real talk. There's a pamphlet, if anybody that's new, that's called What's a Sponsor? It tells you what a sponsor is and what a sponsor isn't. And I had a sponsor who took my calls, who gave me guidance and direction. But what I learned is I can't transmit something I ain't got. So I can only work with others the way my sponsor worked with me. And I've altered it a little bit, because I remember I used to call my sponsor, and you know what she would say to me? Did you write about it? And I would say no, and she would hang up on me. And I would write about it and call her back. Let me try to do that. Some people are sponsored today. They'll be like, my feelings are hurt. I don't feel like I have a voice. You be like, what? Look, I don't remember you telling that to the dope dealer. Anyway, it's a whole dynamic. You know what I'm saying? My sponsor did not get into dialogue about what I thought. So these are just things that I learned too in working with others. And what I learned was she wasn't being mean. It was also part of the preservation of her recovery. Is that we get into problem, solution, promise. Problem, solution, promise. It keeps us all focused. We do that in our meetings. If we just sat around and therapeutically talked about how we felt, I don't know who would recover. And I've always encouraged people that I work with or people who call me, you need a trudging buddy. You need a friend that you can call and gossip and bounce off and vent and all that kind of stuff. It's good to have that from time to time. I don't know, but that got to be short-lived. But when I call my sponsor, I'm getting into the solution, not the problem. I don't remember calling going, I need to explain to you what I think is the problem. I need to tell you exactly, you need to understand my problem. You need to understand how my perception and how I see my problem. And then you need to agree with how I see my problem. And then you need to tell me how I think I should solve the problem. Wrong answer. I'm not masturbating with your disease. Because you know what it'll do? It'll make me toxic. Alcoholism is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has power. That one is God. May you find him now. And I need him just as much as you. And so what happens when one alcoholic talks to another, there's a synergy that takes place, is that we bring God into this place where God becomes everything as opposed to nothing. And we experience it with one another because we invite God into our space together. We're no longer driven by self. Where two are gathered, we're having a meeting. Do you know that just two people is a meeting? And we talk about these principles so that we can practice them, so we can go out into the world and continue to be purposeful and useful. That is our main objective. And so for everyone that comes and asks for guidance, it's an invitation for me to take a look at what's blocking Theresa from being useful. What's keeping me from fulfilling my purpose in life? How can I be useful in all my affairs? As Olis was talking about in the store, how am I useful in the supermarket? How am I useful with my family members? What am I now bringing to the world as opposed to expecting to take for the world that people give me? I'm so grateful that all those who came before me didn't have the tolerance. How do I put this? They didn't have tolerance for my alcoholism, but they had love and tolerance for my road to recovery. I think there's a difference. They didn't tolerate my alcoholism. I don't know how else to explain that. Do you know what I'm saying? I remember going to old timers. I'd be like, I think. They go, that's the problem. Do you know that was the end of that conversation? That was the end of that conversation. I don't remember saying, no, let me explain. No, as a matter of fact, I don't even remember us having that conversation any further. I don't like that's the end of that. I would go and go, I have a problem. And they would give me a mirror that says you're looking at the problem. That was the end of that conversation. I have to laugh. It's funny because for a person who had, I believe, issues with authority figures, wasn't willing to listen to anybody, was on self-run riot, I began to listen to the people who came before me because I understood that this was a life and death errand and that life run by Theresa didn't work. And that thank God we're not all crazy on the same day. And so when I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs, I'm hoping that you're not. And so there is no way I'm going to make rational conclusions based on what you're telling me. I have to believe that whatever you're telling me is far better than anything I'm coming up with. So you know what? I'm just going to do it and I'm going to see what happens. I always use this example. I call my sponsor saying, I got to pay my bills. This is happening and all this is wrong. She says, stop. I'm like, okay. She was like, bake a cake. I was like, okay. I didn't say this to her. You understand me? I didn't go, okay, you didn't hear. First of all, you didn't let me finish talking. And I think that's why what you're saying, you don't know because you don't know what I'm going to do. That's number one. Number two, I don't know what you're talking about. But then, and she hung up. And I was like, okay, but you know what? I never did that before. Let's see what happens. This lady might have something. And I baked the cake. Now, that may not make sense pretty much to anybody, and it didn't make sense to me at the time, but it was only in hindsight. I like how I can't even repeat what you said. I'm moving forward to do something backwards, something, whatever that was that you said, right? All I know that was in hindsight that I realized what she was teaching me was to be in the moment. Because when you're baking a cake, You have to pay attention to what you're doing if you want the cake to look like the one on the box. Okay? And so I have to measure the water, the oil, crack the egg without the shell going in. I don't have a blender. I was a newcomer. That meant I had to do 200 strokes. And if you forget the number, you got to start over. Okay? So that's 1, 2. I'm doing that. Then you got to put it in the oven, put it in the pan, whatever the hell, put the butter on it, put it in the oven. And you know you can't make too much noise when it's in the oven? Because it says it could fall, right? And I'm sitting here looking at this thing in the oven. I have to keep checking it. I got to get a toothpick. I have to put the timer. It has to be in for 45 minutes. All those things, you know what that did? I wasn't thinking about whatever the hell I thought I had going on that was a problem. And what I discovered that was in that moment, there was nothing wrong. And then I finished it and I called her, and you got to let it cool, take it off the rack, all this stuff. I called her and I said, okay, I baked the cake. Now what? She said, cut a piece, sit down and eat it. And I cut a piece and I ate the cake. I keep cake mix in my cabinet to this day. I'm always baking a cake. Even my nephew does it. Stuff is going on. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what's happening. Let's just bake a cake. Let's just bake a cake. That's all we're going to do. And so I've learned so much from those who work with me on how I work with others. I'm so grateful that nobody co-signed my stuff. Nobody babied me. Nobody licked my wounds. What they did was they passed on this thing called recovery. And they told me how this program works. And the other beautiful thing about it was they didn't say I had to do it. I can do whatever I want. But if I wanted what they had, it would behoove me to do what they did. Because the people that I work with I see their bookends. See what I'm saying? They've had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. I can see it. They're not the drunk that they told me they were when they walked into the rooms. And then I watched them practice these principles in all their affairs. I've practiced these principles to the best of my ability. And when I don't, I'm in the middle of the herd. You're going to know it. And I hope somebody points it out to me. I practice these principles so much in all my affairs that whenever anybody calls me and say they're going to take a drink, I'd be like, if anybody's going to have a drink around here, it's me. Until you can top what I be going through on a daily basis, you can't have a drink. That's how I be told. If you call me and tell you, I'll tell it, until your stuff is far worse than what the hell I went through today, you can't have a drink. If I can't have a drink, you can't have a drink. That's the one area I'll be like, you can go ahead and have, like, no, you're not allowed, because I'm not allowed. And I'm going through a whole lot. I'm sitting here watching my father take his last breath, and I haven't taken a drink. And on the other hand, you're on vacation somewhere and you're upset because nobody wants to go on tour with you. I don't think so. You don't get to take a drink. Take a drink. You're going to deal with going wherever the hell they're going. And I'm going to deal with my father taking his last breath. Because what we have to do is practice these principles in all our affairs. And that's what you and I are going to do together. We're going to be reminded that there is a God and that there's some 12 steps. I've heard a lot of people say, I don't want to call my sponsor because I know what they're going to say. I need to hear what they have to say because I forgot. If I knew what they were saying, why am I not doing it? I love the congruency. I have 31 years of sobriety and I need my sponsor to remind me of what I told you yesterday. Because when you in it, like one of my sponsors says, when I'm in the picture, I can't see the frame. So when I'm in it, I don't remember what I told you yesterday. I remember I had a sponsor call me and said she was like checking up on her girlfriend and looking at her online stuff and her emails and all this. And I was like, that's completely inappropriate. You need to make amends. We don't snoop on our partner all up in their business, right? You have the inventory right there. You have to make amends. And like a month later, I called and was like, can you remind me what I told you? Because I'm starting to do the same thing. Wait a minute. Can you repeat to me what I shared with you last month? Because I'm in it, yo. So when I'm in it, I don't see anything. So I need you. I can't get sober by myself. Somebody's timing me, right? My time's got to be up. I can't do this by myself. I need you. I think the beauty of working with others, practicing these principles and these 12 steps, what it taught me, it made me right size. This is the one place that I'm not better than or less than. This is the one place that I just get to be a drunk and you get to be a drunk. That I get to be transparent. I saw my sponsors go through trials and tribulations and make mistakes. And anyone who ever seen me, I make mistakes. I go through trials and tribulations. I'm not one to try to show people that I have my stuff in order and everything is great, because that's not tangible. That's unrealistic. Life's in session. I believe in the fellowship. Not only in sponsorship, I believe in fellowship. I believe in a bunch of phone numbers. I had one sponsor that whenever I called her, it was always after the fact. I hear people say, I call my sponsor, she don't answer the phone. That's the only phone number you got? How many bars did you go to when you were drinking? How many dope dealers do you know? I don't remember that the bar was closed and I said, oh, well, I guess I won't be drinking today. I will find me another bar. You understand? And it doesn't mean I have to find another sponsor. I need another drunk. And so I make phone calls and I would call Lovey. She's passed away now. I miss her. I would call her and I'd be like, okay, so what had happened was this happened, that happened. I wrote about it, the inventory. I read it to so-and-so, and this is what I discovered. Because we share with one another our wrongs, not our rights. My sponsor doesn't need to hear the narrative that I was telling myself. She needs to hear about thank you. She needs to hear about what I discovered about myself as a result of cleaning house. I need to tell her myself, not tell the story. I need to tell her me. That is the dynamic of working with others. And when we're new, I don't know how to do that. So why we encourage those who come in new to get a sponsor as soon as possible, and they gave me one, is because I don't know how to practice these principles in all my affairs. I don't even know what they are. And so I get someone who has a working knowledge of these steps. And they're going to tell me what they did. And they're going to guide me. And I'm going to do them so that in turn, I can have a spiritual awakening as a result of it. And then I can turn around and tell someone else the message that was carried to me and let you know that God is a show-off because it happened to me too. And now you can do it as well. But you need to bring something to the table like I needed to bring something to the table that nobody else can give me, and that's willingness. I can't experience the 12 steps and having a spiritual awakening as a result of them if I'm not willing. I can't practice these principles in all my affairs if I'm not willing. And I definitely can't carry the message if I'm not willing. I have sleepless nights. My phone rings like central office. All I know how to do is be of service. But today I'm also learning the areas on where I think I haven't been that useful, where I've given people the impression that they can call me anytime, at any moment, at any day. And that's something new that I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? That's something new I'm learning today. No. No. Let's schedule an appointment. Let's set up some time. Because we're like crisis. You know what I mean? People like crisis. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Lately, I've been getting a lot of people, telling me what to do. I'm having a new experience with the 12-step lady. And I had to ask myself, what is everybody teaching me? Real quick, I'll say that. I was talking to Ali about that. It's not the people. To me, it's something I need to learn. Whenever anything happens, it's like you said, I'm 100% in this. What is it about me that this is coming? And lately I've been having experiences that people have been telling me what they want to tell me. They're telling me what they think it is that's happening. They're telling me what they want to do, what's going on with them. They're telling me when they want to do it. And I'm having an interesting experience with that. And I'm like, what are you teaching me and what are you showing me? I'm learning to be more quiet. It's just an interesting experience. You don't want what I have. You just want to tell me what you got. So now I need to determine whether I got the time to do that or whether I don't. And that's a new one for me. Maybe because my plate is so full. You know what I'm saying? That's a new one for me. Where before I would just set the phone down and do some other things and let you do it. Now I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't think that's useful. It's not useful to you and it's not useful to me. So real quick, I believe in relationship with other alcoholics should be a place of neutrality and objectivity. I want to share this real quick. I don't look for BFFs. And I know it says we may acquire a friend, but where it says that is that a person who's not ready, we may acquire a friend, right? We want to keep a friendship going that they'd be willing to call you back. But I'm really big on working with others. It has nothing to do with friendship because then I can't be objective and neutral because I have an investment in the game. And I'll be a little bit more conscious about what I say to you because I don't want to miss out. You know what I'm saying? My nephew just said to me recently, Titi, I feel like one of your sponsees. I'm always calling you. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. I have a direct interest in what happens to you. See, when they hang up, they can call me, excuse the expression, a BITCH, and they cannot do anything I suggested. But you, on the other hand, I'm going to make sure you follow everything I said to the letter. Wait. Anyway, and I am directly invested that you follow everything I tell you to do. So the only thing that's consistent is spiritual principles and a relationship with God. I hope that helped. This is the end of our series. I was trying to get as much as I could get in. Olis did an awesome job. And now I hope we have time for Q&A, Ali. Did I mess that up?
Philip, come on up, buddy. 187 days. Come on up.
Philip. I'm an alcoholic, and I have 170 days. I can't take credit for 17 or whatever, some more days. But and so I feel like after that, I shouldn't even be opening my mouth with 170 days. Damn, sister, you got the fire going on today, and I'm like burnt to a crisp. I'm like, whoosh. As a newcomer, I'm like, what was that? Oh, all right. I better walk on tread lightly, right? So my question is, Theresa, you've really, thank God, I respect AA, I respect you. I have tons of love, even though I'm learning what this respect really means to me and what it means to give that. So I have an example, and I would like to know if I'm at wrong here. So I'm going through child abuse stuff, and I'm on my 9th step, and so I decided that my child abuser is going to be the letter I'm going to write. He's dead and passed away. And so it's brought up a lot of resistance that, my sponsor ended up talking me off the ledge that I didn't even realize I was on. I started to distance myself and push people away with, my fear. And so she talked me off, and then we agreed that it was better just to, and it was off of your share the other day about when you were a little girl and you wrote from that little girl age about your brother, or you were talking about him. So we brought that up and how we should probably just make it simple and focus on what it was like when you were 4 years old instead of thinking about, all the time that's passed as a victim and all that stuff and how it's affected your life, because it got really, really dark. It's a big issue. Child sexual abuse from your uncle is a huge, sensitive topic. And it could take anybody out. I think it's something that a sponsor
Philip,
should
your question,
really,
brother. Your question,
I'm trying to get there. A sponsor should be really careful about getting to. So I read my 5th step again because we decided to do an inventory from that space of a 4-year-old. And I'm doing my inventory again, and I did it. We get to the end, and there's some poking and prodding that's getting into, like, how rape goes back into Spanish wars, and it goes, so there's bringing a whole mountain.
So you got 5 seconds, brother, man. You got 5 seconds.
Okay,
No,
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. 5 seconds. So my question. No, so let me finish my question.
Let me ask you
finish
something
my
first.
question.
Wait, I'm just going to ask you something first. And then you're going to ask me the question. So I wanted to ask you something. One quick question before you go on. And then you unmute him for me, Ali. has your sponsor had the same experience with abuse? I want to ask you that first. Did your sponsor have the same type of experience with abuse? I just want to ask you that first. Had they had the same
No, but
experience?
she's poking and prodding, and I'm telling her that that's enough, and she seems to have been getting hurt by that, and
Okay.
that I'm telling her what to do as a sponsor, and I'm telling her, stop, that's enough, I can't take anymore, and she's getting offended by that. Am I wrong?
In a way, because even like what just happened, I know it's difficult because when we come from abuse, and I'm a person who comes from abuse, I always feel like my voice isn't being heard, or I'm present now, right? I don't have alcohol and drugs to kind of mask all that. And so there's so much that I want to say, I want to do, I want to be heard. But the program of recovery, it's difficult sometimes when I have to respect what the sponsor is saying, even though I don't understand it. Because the way I always saw it is, I don't know how to put this. First, I'm going to say not everything is for everybody. Okay, not everything is cookie cutter. Somehow I trusted and believed in the person I was working with. I believe it comes down to that, quite frankly. I really, really do. I believe it comes to that I really, really trusted my sponsor. That when my sponsor said something, whether I agreed with it or not, I believed it. And I think it has a lot to do with that, even when it didn't make sense. When she would say, don't interrupt me, for example. My sponsor never said that to me because I didn't do that. But if she was to say that, I think I would be learning. So I always saw it as I was learning. I agreed. I didn't have the reins. So I think that's the question. Like if somebody, I didn't see them as prodding and probing. I saw them as guiding me, helping me to get to where I needed to go. So the question is, if somebody's like prodding or probing or getting me to a place that I don't want to go to, am I wrong for saying I don't want to go there? Of course, I'm never wrong for saying, hey, I can't do this right now. I'll always have a right to say that I can't go any further. I don't think anyone's ever taken that away from me. Where I would be wrong is if I'm insistent on telling you what I think I need to recover. And that's where I think there's a difference. Because how do I know that if I don't know how to recover? So I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Thank you.
You can always call me, Philip, and we could talk more about it. I think it's better if you call me. And you can explain it to me a little bit better and more. I'll put my phone number in the chat.
Sandy, come on up, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name is Sandy. Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you again, ladies. Phenomenal night. I just wanted to ask you, you said, you were worried about having too many sponsees and that. I'm just wondering, because I struggle to make sure that I have the proper time to give everybody, because I want to take them through the book, take them through the steps. So do you just like try to find a spare hour if you have a new sponsee to do that on a weekly basis? How do you manage all of that and feel like you're giving them what they need?
Want to take that one, Olis? Then I'll share on it.
Hi, I'm Olis, and I'm an alcoholic. I think that there are different ways that people sponsor. If you're a book-based sponsor and you're taking people through the book line by line, obviously that's going to require more time from you than if you're sponsoring people in a way that isn't as intensive. And I don't know that there's a right or a wrong. The way that I do it is book-based, line by line. And the truth is that once you get people all the way through the steps and they've had a spiritual awakening as a result, and they're sponsoring people, your connection with them shifts. I should talk for me. My connection with them shifts. And so I don't, 8's a really good number for me because I have other pretty intense service commitments. 15's way off the reservation, like way too many. But that's where I'm at. And so I'm surrendered to God. but I do think that it's important to have a consideration about what you need, that you're getting proper sleep, that you're eating right, that you're, I heard Theresa refer to this, like at some point, I've got to look at whether or not I'm taking good care of me, not just am I taking good care of you, because obviously you can't transmit something you haven't got. Hopefully that was helpful.
And my thing is, again, I do agree. There's no cookie cutter. I got my ear. Sorry. There's no real cookie cutter. That's why I like the pamphlet. Like, what is a sponsor? What is it? Just give some basic outline. We meet people kind of where they are in a sense. I've had a sponsee like call me every morning at 9:30 in the morning with her big book and her highlighter, and it was like not even negotiable, right? Maybe because she was another Puerto Rican like me, that was lady. But she'd be like, all right, she'd be like, good morning. I got my highlighter. I got my, and I was like, oh snap. Okay, let me get some coffee. But I didn't have anything else going on at 9:30 in the morning either, right? And so we went through the whole book together. And then I have scheduled sometimes, depending on how many people I have, I've scheduled where we'll go through the big book together. Or I go to a big book workshop, right, where we're going through the book line by line. And so I encourage that they go there and then we talk about that and we can go over it. So there's so many ways to kind of work with others as opposed to I'm only going to do it this way. So that's my answer to that. I've done it different ways where I've done a group, but I usually don't sponsor all new people at one time either. Like I've never had like 30 newcomers. I think I'll go Cocoa Puffs with 30 newcomers. Usually I sponsor enough people. I sponsor a lot of people, but they have a different times, like 20 years, 25 years, 17 years, 5 years, 10 years. By the second or third year, we're cutting the umbilical cord. Like you should not be asking me to telling me what to do other than reading to me your work. Like my sponsor did that. Like after I think my second year, after my first year, I blew out my candle and she was like, happy birthday. Now it's no longer about you. So, you know what I'm saying? So really my sponsees should not be dependent on me giving them answers on how to live this thing, only calling about your faults and being reminded that there's a God and that there's steps. So if I only have one newcomer, then I'll go through the big book with them and stuff if I don't have anything else going on. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Sandy. Mr. Ronald White, come on up, brother.
Ronald!
Hi, my name is Ron White. I'm an alcoholic. Ali, thank you for you and all the ladies who've been doing this entire series. I've gotten a chance to hear most of them, and it's unbelievable. Just blew me away. And particularly tonight with two of my favorite ladies, not just in Alcoholics Anonymous, but in the world. All right. Both an honor and a privilege to hear you both tonight. My question, I have a twofold question. First question, can you share with us, either one of you, the significance of a well-whooped ass for both the person sponsoring and the person being sponsored? Second question is, what is the danger, or do you see any danger sometimes being involved in an ego-reducing process? That's what this whole process is. But in sponsoring people, sometimes it can be an ego inflating thing. You know what I'm saying? When it's almost like they want to look at you like you a guru, or you're this or you're that. And I know Olis, say people, it look glamorous on the outside, but on the inside, right? It's shit, totally different thing. But can you just share with us either one of those two questions? And ladies, I love you. Thank you.
Which one you want, Theresa?
Do a little bit of both.
Okay. So, I think a well-whooped ass is a really important thing. And what I find is that people who have a well-whooped ass are more likely to take direction. Particularly people who've been around for a long time, but I'm working with them just to take them through the work because they've got sobriety, but not necessarily recovery. they've learned how to not drink. And so they're far enough away from their well-whooped ass that they're like, why this? Why that? Why this? Why do you want what I got or you don't want what I got? Why are we having this conversation? But I've learned how not to say that. So I think a well-whooped ass primes people to be in a state of surrender and reception to what it is that we have to offer. So that's my answer on that one. On the ego, this is the thing. Alcoholics Anonymous, we are such good, loving, kind people that we liars. So a person could get up and recite the alphabet in a meeting and people would be like, oh my God, that was the greatest shit I ever heard. No, you can't believe, no. I am another bozo on the bus. That's what I am, right? But with the, like just rocking back. You can't believe the story about how great you are from other people because they don't really know how crazy you are, right? They don't really know. And so you can't buy into it. You just have to be like, I really appreciate that you see me that way and you think about me that way. And I'm going to tell you how crazy I am and let's see if you still love me, right? And so thank you, Fronto, for still loving me.
That's a good, I was like, oh, Ronnie's going to ask a question. I do believe a well-whooped ass makes a whole lot of difference on how I listen. I do end up taking the cotton out of my ears and putting it in my mouth because I'm raw. And I want to stay kind of that way, right? I want to have that gift of that desperation and desire. And in all these life situations with a well-whipped ass that I surrender to whatever, right? Because I want this merciless, and it's not just the obsession to drink, but the merciless alcoholism that's on me is when I reach out to you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm willing, that's what I mean. I'm willing to say something and then shut up, right? And then hear what you have to say because I'm going Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. And so it makes a difference. And I believe it makes a difference if I keep that in mind as I help others too, that this is a life and death errand. And I'm doing it not to do you any favors. I'm doing it because my life depends on it. And that's the reason why I answer the phone. I'm answering the phone and I'm sitting with the big book. I remember I had a sponsee. He would get upset because he was in the coffee shop and he always had a newcomer every week. And he was like, I keep going to the doctor's opinion every single week and they keep relapsing. And I'm like, but you're the same guy. And so it's not so much about getting them to do it. It's like, maybe you need to keep hearing the doctor's opinion. And so that's a well-whipped ass for me too, that I remember how I came here. And that's why I work with others because I have a whooped ass. And I noticed that when they have one, that kind of works a little bit better together. The other areas, a lot of people can have me on a pedestal or think that my stuff doesn't stink, or especially because I speak or whatever, or the things that I say. But I believe that I'm transparent enough when you do start calling me that I let you know that my stuff stinks. And I'm really open to share with you what I just did yesterday or what's going on with me to let you know that it's about one alcoholic talking to another. And you can have high expectations on who I am and what I am, but you will soon find out that just as much as you have to lower the expectations you have about your grandiosity, I hope you'll learn you have to lower them on mine, because we just two alcoholics trying to stay sober, man, one day at a time. But I can also see, Ronnie, that as a result of like working with a lot of people and getting a lot of phone calls and answering questions, I can easily start thinking I know something, right? Because I'm always sharing people the solution. And I don't ever want to get caught up to the point that I rest on my laurels, that I think I know or I'm above. So that's why I look at it as everybody who calls me and talks to me, I'm paying attention, not like I know something. That's why they say most people who work in the field of alcohol and drug addiction have the highest suicide and relapse because they start thinking they know something. And that ego can take me out that way. So I want to always remember that I don't know everything. I just have my experience today and hopefully I can learn something new. I want to keep right size in that area too. So, and I get to make mistakes and tell you something and find out I was wrong and I know what I was talking about yesterday. So.
Ronnie, thank you for your question, brother. Miss Mona Lisa, come on up, please.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. There's one, I really enjoyed this. Really happy to stumble into this. I had a question, though, for Olis. it was really a neat moment because I was hanging on every word and I was multitasking, but you had me sit down and I was like, what's she talking about? Like you really captured me, which was nice. Until the very end, when you said, you used the word spiritual thief. And I got hurt and I got mad and I said, ooh, what? And then it was really good though, because I like being triggered now, because there's something to work with. There's something to play with, something to go deep with, and to use the steps with, right? I have a whole step program to ingest that statement. And so I was curious to know if you could elaborate just what you meant by that, or if you didn't mean anything. I was just curious.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Even Theresa made a face at me when I said that, right? I'm not playing. I mean that. So here's how I've come. Here's how I've come to hold my responsibility. I had my life saved. In Keys to the Kingdom on page 275 in the big book, it says that we come to appreciate the responsibility for towing the line. And what we get for towing the line is countless dividends, right? It's limitless opportunity to expand. And so I understand that to mean, and other parts of the book also give me this information, that sobriety is a gift. It's a gift. I've been given a gift and people gave it to me freely. And I'm covered by grace. It's unmerited. It's unwarranted. I don't deserve anything that I have. I should be somewhere with a pipe hanging out my mouth right now. And I'm not. And so there's never enough that I could do for Alcoholics Anonymous to pay back what's been given to me. And here's the thing. Every time I give more to pay back for getting the gift that I got, I'm giving more. What? It's the best deal in town. And if I come and I only receive, but I don't bust my behind to give back, then I'm taking and I'm not giving. And what is my problem? That I'm selfish and self-centered and self-seeking. That's my problem. So if I take and I go to meetings and that person's great and I get to speak it, you know what I mean? If I do all of that, yay, I get the glory, but I'm not willing to take calls in the middle of the night. I'm not willing to talk to people I don't want to. I'm not willing to sponsor people when I really want to. If I'm not willing to do the things I don't want to do, but I'm receiving the gifts that make my life possible, how is that not thievery? How is that not the crux of my problem? Selfishness. And that's what I'm trying to recover from. That's where I find God. I got two options for finding God. Pain, but you can have a well-whooped ass right now, or people. And when I move through and help people, it's a portal to God. And that's why I feel like it would be stealing to just take and not be ceaseless. I'm ceaseless in receiving the gift, to not be ceaseless in repaying it. I hope that was helpful. And anybody I offended, good. Think about that.
Thank you for your question, Melissa. Anita, come on up, please.
Yeah, hi, Anita, alcoholic. Thank you, Ali, for your service. Thank you, Theresa and Olis. I follow you guys around, like I'm lurking on all kinds of meetings you guys are speaking at. I just love you both. So my question though is for Olis. You mentioned in your share your situation and how you came to see that you would have had a baby for any guy just for your need for love and approval. I'm curious the process that you came to that realization and then how you practice the opposite principles in your affairs now, that journey, if you could share on that. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. I have a really brief answer. So my experience has been that if I keep showing up and I keep listening and I keep being curious, you know, like I'll follow Theresa, I'll follow Ali, like I follow Ralph, I'll follow Ronald. Like if I just keep showing up, listening to people who have what I want, I'm going to begin to see myself through seeing them. Like it's an unfolding. And so, you know, I just do the work. Like it's in doing the work. And I could be working on a relationship with my mother, right? And end up seeing this thing about God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. So I'll say this, and hopefully this is useful also about how I'm living it now. If I believe that God loves me, the God of my understanding, if I believe that God has a perfect plan for my life, it's impossible to live in regret. The only question then is, when those things happen to me, what purpose did they serve in my life? How did they fit me? Page 77, my real purpose is to fit myself because I'm not fit. Then if I believe God loves me, then the only question is, these things happen to me. How did they fit me? What did they do for me? How are they a blessing? Because God's plan for my life is perfect. I hope that was helpful. You got my number. Call me if that was.
I do.
Thank you for being here, Anita. Brother Calvin, come on up, please.
Guys, I ain't got much juice, so this is going to be real fast. Hello, everyone. My name is Calvin. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, artists. And thank you, Theresa. I mean, you guys really knocked the ball out the park tonight. I've been around here a little while myself, and I sponsor quite a few people myself. And what happens is I seem to sponsor who are attracted to me are older people who got more time than me. And I got a pretty good amount of time. You know, I sponsor some guys got 40, 41, 42 years. And they're the hardest people that I ever lived in my life to deal with. You know what I mean? Because they done learned a lot of bad ideas here. And now they don't want to drink, but they want to kill themselves. So I'm thinking, my God. So I want to ask, what do I do? What would you do to get by that? How do you get around it? What do you do? What do you offer? So it's just interesting what happens here. Thank you, guys. I love you.
You have anything on that? I'll do that if you have someone. You know, I hear you, Calvin. I've had that experience of sponsoring somebody who has more time. And it's interesting because sometimes I could see the disease of alcoholism, like use the program against them. And I've always asked that, like, especially chronic relapsers, that's just similar as well. I sponsor people that have been in and out just as long as I've been sober. And after a while, it's as though they know something, right? They know something. That's really what they're dealing with. I know something. I know something. Well, if you know so much, what's happening? You know what I'm saying? And so, again, I think it always ends up coming back to the same thing, like the credibility. Like, is it really that you want to get into the debate society and you're looking for a good debate argument? Or do we really want to learn how to practice these principles in all our affairs? And I think I'm learning that voice too. Like, you know, I'm not here to convince anybody how to recover. I'm not here to tell you that my way is the best way. But what I'm here to do is you can't take away my experience that's been working for me. So that's my thing with people sometimes with time or relapsers, they know too much. And it's like self-knowledge serves me nothing. How do we live this? And if you believe that I'm living it and you want me to tell you how I've been living it, then let me tell you how I've been living it. But let's not get into a discussion about how I've been living it or how you think you should be living it, what you know. And sometimes I just got to be that frank because I'm with you always. I agree. I love it when you say that, like you are a spiritual thief. And some people can try to suck the life out of me too, working with them. Do you know what I mean? I have vampires. Quite frankly, there are some people who are vampires. They still live in a state of victim consciousness. They're looking for somebody to lick their wounds. And they believe that they want me to hear them over and over again about, oh, woe is me. Oh, look and listen to my problems. Or let me tell you how I think I can solve them. And that to me is not the relationship of one alcoholic talking to another. That's a relationship with a therapist and some other people. I'm here to tell you what we can do to recover and you know what I mean? And then we can also share about our victories in doing that. So you have anything on that?
There's many a dead horse by the water. I can take you to the water, but I sure can't make you drink. And so I don't mean to be hard-hearted, but that's just the truth. I'll say this. When I first got here, I came in through the back door through Al-Anon, and I've had suicide ideation my whole life. And I went to this woman that I really respected in the program, and I told her, I was having suicide ideation. Shook. She never even blinked. She was like, yeah, if you killed yourself, it would be very sad for a moment, and then we would go on. And I think it's what people need to hear, that if you want what we got, we're willing to give it to you. But I'm not going to fight you for you to get recovered.
I love old timers that are so direct. I'm sorry, long timers. Long timers that are so direct. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you, Olis, for being you. Joanne, come on up, please. Joanne, going once?
Okay, I got you.
Right.
Hi, I got you. Thank you so much for calling on me, and thank you guys for having this meeting. Let me put my camera on so you can see me. Hey, just a quick question. Just let me get to the point. Has there ever been a time when you have worked with other people and you have, because, like you said, we're all just bozos on the bus, and you can only share your experience, strength, and hope. So has there ever been a time when you have suggested to a person that you've been working with that they seek outside help? That's my question. Thank you.
Oh yeah, outside help, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I've had people I work with, I can tell that it's important. I think it's important. I mean, it tells us that even in the big book, right, to defog the mind. I work with many men and women who have mental illness. And it's very difficult to focus on the steps and doing the work if you're schizophrenic and you're hearing voices and you think your sponsor's, about to kill you. I have a sponsee like that. And I have to make sure that, in complying with medication, seeing the doctor, seeing a therapist, working further. I'm grateful that my sponsor suggested that I was sicker than most and I needed as much help as possible. So when I was new, and I don't know if that's for everybody, but I went, believe it or not, in my first year, I went to Al-Anon, Adult Children of Alcoholics, Incest Survivor. I went to AA. I went to CA. I saw a therapist. I had a lot of stuff going on, and it takes a village. And the only thing that was important for me was that all of that had to complement one another. They couldn't contradict each other. That makes sense, because then I would get confused. And they all were supportive, and I believed in having everybody on the same page. But I have recommended that people get outside help because we do, and our big book tells us that sometimes we need to seek out outside help. So I don't have all the answers. I could just tell you how the 12-step works, how we work them to find a relationship with God. Finances and all that other stuff, there are other people who are far more qualified.
Okay, looks like all this is good. And last but not least, Mr. Ralph White, come on up, please, brother.
My name is Ralph White. I'm an alcoholic. And I had to check in because I can't let these two. See, when the New Yorkers get together, it be, bringing the heat, hard in the paint, and taking no quarters. And it's, like my brother said, these two on here right now, when Ronnie gave the ego reducing question and both of them said, get with me and we get transparent. Unfortunately, the role models don't get to tell the modelers not to model. So it's people sitting on here that see two iconic recovery divas. And some of it look intimidating. Some of it looks like, wow, they bringing the heat. But I just have a question, because I'd like everybody in here to know what this program has to offer the way I know it through YouTube. So you talked about 3 parts of the 12 steps, and there's one piece that got overlooked tonight, and that's one of the promises. And so I'd like you both to speak to that promise and how it manifests now. And there is, however, a vast amount of fun and levity, and I can go anywhere any free man can go. You've talked about painting between the lines inside rooms of recovery, but I happen to know that you two inspire me by what both of you, for those who don't know, are over 30 years in recovery. And so even though they give the story about, yeah, I'm still right side, you're not supposed to look like you looked at 30 days. You two are an example of what 30 plus years of seeking looks like. And just to give hope to some new people, like what are some of the things in your lives, both of you, that kind of demonstrate being able to go anywhere any free man can go as a result of these principles? And I love you both, and you killed it. You killed it. I came here to get fed, and I did. So I thank you both, as usual.
I like it when I don't know that you're on there. I didn't know you on there, right? I like it when I don't see them. It's just like I get nervous, like, oh man. Because again, I go like, I'm gonna just shut up. I'm gonna let y'all talk. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'll let you start on that one because you got so many gifts. I love the way you say it. Go ahead.
I'm with you, T. Like if I'd have known, I'd have been like, oh, Ralph, right? Oh, Ronnie. Here's the thing I love about that question. First of all, I love you, Ralph. Here's the thing about the question. And, I often don't talk about this. For anybody this new, I've been chatting with somebody that's a newcomer. And for anybody that's been around for a while and you're not living fully in the promises, let me tell you, a life beyond my wildest dreams. My mother was a madam. Like I come from nothing. I lived in public housing in New York where you got on the elevator and you had to stand in the corner away from the piss. And now I live a life beyond my wildest dreams. Let me say this, just what's happened in the pandemic around people. Like, I really feel like T is my family. I feel like Ollie's my family. I feel like Ralph and Ronnie and my family, Val, Odie, can't like family. I went to LA and did a 24-hour whirlwind tour. Went to Ralph's house. Woo! I had a good time. It's magic. It's magic. I am on my 3rd passport. I'm a traveler. I've been solo traveling, Southeast at Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, Costa Rica, Belize. Where? Venice, Rome, Milan. Where you want to go? Let's go. Let's hit it, right? Because, and I know that this is a program of self-sacrifice, and you've heard me talk about that. But here's my God, the God I have, the God I serve. I can have my heart's desire. I can have my heart's desire as long as I'm standing in alignment in the sunlight of the Spirit, as long as I live in a beautiful place. I have beautiful things. I have friends. I ain't got no man, but apparently that ain't what God wants for me, right? Because if God wanted that for me, I'd have one. I have an extraordinary life, extraordinary. And if you're here and you're new or you're not so new, if you do the steps as outlined in the book, my experience has been that you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams.
I love you. That is so cool. Ditto. I know we're running out of time. And what's interesting for me is that a lot of the stuff has been on the inside. The rewards, the gifts. Because people, when you said beyond your wildest dreams, I remember when I came here, I heard that I had never dreamed. So I didn't have wildest dreams because I had never dreamed. And so if anything, I got emotional just now when I said it. To be able to dream, to be able to have hope, to see me transform as a woman, a woman of dignity, of integrity, of self-respect, to have self-worth and self-esteem is far greater to me than anywhere that I live or the money in my pocket. I mean, that has been huge for me, to watch myself be a member of society, to look someone in the eye, to know that my body is sacred and that it is a gift of God and I am of God is huge. And that I get to walk in that wherever I go, that I don't even have to tell anybody that I am in recovery and I walk with God and I've come to know God. I think the greatest gift of sobriety is that you could see it without me telling you it. This is a program of attraction rather than promotion. That whether I'm in AA or outside of AA, and I've experienced it, where people go, what is that about her? As opposed to, oh my God, here she comes again, or we can't stand her. That to me is the gift. That I walk into a room and people go, who is that? And it's not because of my outsides, maybe my outfits sometimes. I be having some cute outfits. But aside from that, I have to say, I'm not going to deny that. I love my outfits. I miss getting dressed up, well, whatever, right? But aside from that, it's like where people can come out and go, who is that? Who is that? That is the miracle that I have found has taken place. And the other one is when I look in the mirror and I go, look at you. I love you. You're beautiful. That's huge. When I look in the mirror and I go, hi. How you doing? You're beautiful. That to me is huge. Because I don't even want to look in the mirror, right? I can't stand her. So those are the gifts. Thank you, Ralph, for the question. The gift is also being around people like you. And I know a lot of times we say Ronnie and Ralph and I need you guys to know when I talk about these people and I'm nervous when I see them, it's not because they're better than and oh my God, what are they they're critiquing me. It's because they've given their life to me without asking me for nothing. That's why I say that. There is nothing they've ever asked of me. My admiration of them is I watch them live this to the best of their ability. I watch them give it away so freely that I just get emotional because at no time did they do it with any kind of strings attached. Like, I'm going to help you unless you recover. I never got that. So whenever I see them, yes, I want to make them proud, right? Because I want to give back what they freely gave me. Ralph Woods, I repeat him. I remember one time we was somewhere and Ralph was like, I don't want to repeat. T is here and I don't want to repeat her. I'm like, I repeat you all the time. You're kidding me? Like, right? And so I hear him say, I get a blessing to be a blessing. I get a blessing to be a blessing. Sobriety is a gift given to me by God. What I do with it is my gift to God. And so I get to live this thing by being a blessing. And I have to keep cleaning house, trusting in God, right? Doing everything possible to get rid of self so that I could show up and let God show off. And so this is what I was thinking, and our time is up. I think about Leon Strange, another one that so freely gave me so much. And I'm going to quote him as well. Wait, real quick. My brother said something to me that really stuck with me. I was sharing with him about the program, and he said, it's finally become a part of you. You're no longer parroting. What a compliment that was when my brother said that. The fact that he noticed that there was a period of time that I was just parroting what you guys were saying, and then he saw the difference of when I was just talking, what I heard, to when I became what I have been practicing. Ooh, that was a huge compliment. But I was thinking about Leon Strange would always say this, and that stuck with me. And that is, I can't really have you know what a banana tastes like. But the best thing I can do is to describe it in a way by living it, not just by describing it, by telling you about it, by living it, because that's what you guys did. You lived it. I saw it in you. So much so that I just wanted to taste the freaking banana. And so that's what this is really all about. The enthusiasm, the excitement, the transformations, the miracles, God showing off and showing out. And then us saying, it is God, not me. It is God, not me. Enough working with others, that they go, yes, it is God, not me. And then their life changes and we witness their lives transform and the miracles start happening. That is contagious, folks. For the new man, the new woman to see that and go, damn, I want to taste the banana too. And that's what this is really all about. And I love when Leon Strange says that. Thank you, Ralph. I love you mucho. And thank you, everybody. I want to thank Olis so much. Again, I've been feeling like Oprah with all my favorite guests coming to the show. You are a woman of dignity, of integrity, of self-respect, God-loving, and a child of God. Mirror, mirror, you are my mirror. You are my reflection. I thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. I thank everybody else for being here and enduring all the weeks with us. Thank you, Ali, for always his inspirational ideas and thoughts. And thank you, everybody who participated and helped put this together. Thank you.